Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second edition of a solo COOLDOG episode. Now, as you might know, we started off the whole kind of podcast with a solo episode, and it was it was nice. But then I brought a bunch of my friends along, and I haven't really done it since then. And I feel like we've done enough episodes now where I feel like I can. It'd be nice if I just sit down and talk for a little bit and kind of we can look through the episodes so far and talk about what's in store for the future and what I could do better. So what is this? What would this be? This would be the. I gotta look this up. I think this would be the 8th episode. 8th episode. Yeah, this would be the 8th episode. Last episode was the one with Nick, Hoover, and Jake. And I gotta tell you guys, I really did appreciate the very kind words that you guys left on that episode. Everybody seemed to really enjoy Nick's stories, and I'm really glad, because I'm not lying to you when I say this, that I was crying throughout that episode. I was literally crying. Tears were rolling down my face. It was so funny hearing him talk about his really interesting childhood, Nick, that is. And I think it was probably one of my favorite episodes. I really did enjoy it. If you had to ask me, to rank episodes, obviously I wouldn't do that out of respect for my wonderful guests. But I would say that some of my favorites definitely do include the Weston's one was pretty funny. I gotta say, it was pretty enjoyable. But the James Marriott one I really did love. It's just, I felt like a really good conversation, almost 2 hours long. So if you didn't catch that one, and I guess you are in desperate need for some more COOLDOG, or for some reason for more of me, then you can kind of see. Now I'm like, do I look here? To all the audio listeners, I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter to you, but I'm like, do I look at the camera? Because I feel like I kind of should, but I'm like so used to streaming that I don't know where to look. I'm just gonna look at you right now. Okay, I'm gonna look at you. Look you right in the eye as I talk to you. Okay, I'm looking. This is pretty intense, and if you're listening on Spotify, you are definitely missing out. But I gotta say, so far it's been pretty good. I've enjoyed. I've really enjoyed doing this show. I've enjoyed talking to my friends. I feel like I have really good conversations with my friends, so I'm glad that I could kind of, share and broadcast that. It hasn't been as consistent as I would like it to be. For a while I was just getting sick for no reason, and also, or I would just be like, one week I recorded an episode that I wasn't particularly happy with, which I think kind of went against my whole idea of what I was making this podcast for, where I really feel like that week I was overthinking a lot, and that's why that episode didn't come out. There's no reason as to why I shouldn't have released it. I feel like this podcast should kind of be like this spontaneous thing where I was like, oh, I had an idea, and I just spoke my mind for an hour or so, and then I'm just gonna put it into the void, and I'm not gonna think about it. And that week I clearly was not in a headspace where I was able to do that, which was a shame. And but it's, the episode wasn't like amazing, so I don't think you guys are really missing out on anything crazy. I'm also double vaxxed now. I'm not fully vaccinated yet, because you gotta wait. They told me to give it like 2 weeks, so I'm not gonna say I'm fully vaccinated yet, but I have gotten both of my shots. Interesting part is that when I went to get my second shot, the vaccination place was a lot less active than it was the first time, which you could say that's because more people have gotten vaccinated. But that's not particularly the case. It's more so that people have gotten complacent. Like, for example, here in Estonia, it's become I was reading in the news that a lot of people just aren't showing up for their second shots, which is concerning. I really feel like people have gone complacent during the summer because numbers have started going down. You guessed it, because of, everybody kind of following restrictions more and people being vaccinated. But as numbers are starting to increase again, today I read Florida had its like the most amount of cases it's ever had in a single day since the pandemic started. Which, granted, it's Florida and people in Florida are crazy, and in Florida, well, it's even kind of crazier because Florida never, I feel like, really properly locked down. So the fact that it didn't hit like a higher peak when everybody else was peaking is crazy. Or the fact that it did hit a higher peak, but now it's even worse. I feel like that's the more likely case. And now, you're seeing these like festivals being held, and maybe it's just me. I don't want to be the pessimist asshole while everybody's out there having fun listening to Post Malone and really kind of having the time of their life. But I feel like having festivals this early on, which I know is crazy to say because, we've been like in the middle of this mess for a year and a half. Believe me, I know. Okay, I've been inside my room for a year and a half. I know exactly how long we've been dealing with this, as I'm sure you all do as well. But like, I feel like we just got out of the woods on this, and I feel like to immediately have these crazy festivals, I don't know. I feel like we're going to look back at this, and this is going to end up being a mistake because we don't even know, there's things going around in the U.S. especially because I think in the U.S. the way that the vaccination cards are made, they're a lot easier to fake. And from what I've heard from some of my American friends, none of them, thankfully, have not participated in this behavior. But in the U.S., there's definitely a market for fake vaccine cards, which is the most ridiculous shit ever. Because at that point, why don't you just get vaccinated? Like, I don't understand this shit of people being like, I'm the chosen one. I'm the chosen one where the vaccine is going to kill me. Like, I don't think you're that special. I think you're going to be fine. I'll tell you what happened to me when I got my first shot. I had a foggy mind, and I at one point I got like a runny nose, and my arm was very sore. Second shot, everybody was telling me, oh, this is the bad one. You're going to want to be careful. This one, you might want to lay down. You might want to cozy up because you're not going to move anywhere for 3 days, okay? This is where it gets bad. And I was terrified. I was horrified. But you know what? I went and got my shot. The nurse was very nice. I enjoyed my time, and then I walked home. I got to say, when I was walking home from the vaccine, it was a little bit like, ooh, I felt a little bit woozy. I don't know what if that was related to the vaccine, but I did feel a little bit weird walking home. But then I came home and my arm became sore and I was fine. I really thought, damn, like I got the second shot and I didn't feel anything. And then I was like, I think this is partly because I hadn't slept as well, but I was just sitting at my computer and all of a sudden I felt my body just getting insanely sore. Like I couldn't move. It was like any movement was pretty painful. And I thought, uh-oh, this is where it starts. This is where the road starts, where I end up being, God, I'm gonna go down a horrible road, a horrible path of like some demon spawning illness where I get nightmares and I get cold sweats. I did start sweating pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, it did make me sweat. But other than that, the body soreness, I went to sleep basically as soon as I started getting this body soreness, and when I woke up, it was gone, and I felt completely normal. And now it's been I got the vaccine on Wednesday, so now it's been about what has it been? It's been like 5 days. Yeah, it's been like 5 days since I got it, and I think I'm fine now. So now I just gotta wait for, I guess, the immunization to hit, which is exciting. But I guess, I really feel like people gotta be careful. You gotta be careful even if you're double vaccinated. You gotta like, I know it sucks, and I know it's like, oh, I thought the vaccines were supposed to save us, but it's like, there never in the human history have we had to get vaccines out so quick. So I feel like also the experts on this, they don't know everything. It's impossible to know everything when, we've really been forced down this kind of I don't know, like it's everybody. I feel like, there's a lot of pressure on everybody, and I understand that there's a lot of pressure on, working people, the doctors, government officials, and I mean, I don't really envy anybody, right? But I feel like that's why, you kind of have to be like, there are people, the anti-vaxxers specifically are getting really mad because, they're saying, oh, when the vaccines came, we were supposed to be done, right? This was supposed to be the end all of it all. But like, what I'm saying is we don't know. We don't know. There's no way to know. Vaccines, usually you got to try them out for years. We didn't have that time with this. People were dying and fucking the economy was collapsing. Like, nobody had the time to, know if, oh, maybe we need a third shot. Maybe we need this. Maybe we need that. There was no time to find that out. So it's not really surprising to me that, there's new information coming out all the time. And now there's the Delta strain, which I feel like everybody's very confused on this too, because I feel like I read different things every day about, what the Delta strain means. What I understand is that the Delta strain is definitely a lot more highly more contagious, which is why we're about to see a big increase in cases. In Estonia as well, they gave a prediction that by September we're basically going to be back to where we were in March or April, which was we were among some of the worst in the world. At one point, even the number one worst in the world. So we even made it up there. And this is all because here's another thing, right? People, I kind of realized that some people didn't keep up with the fact that, okay, you can be more relaxed once you're vaccinated. What I've realized in Estonia, for example, was nobody's wearing masks, nobody's doing anything, and I know that quite a few of these motherfuckers are not vaccinated. Estonians love to buy into this anti-vax shit with, like, with Facebook. Facebook's very big in Estonia, and Facebook is really, I feel like, the root of all evil when it comes to that kind of stuff, because the things that they say in these Facebook groups, and it just becomes an echo chamber where I feel like these people, they just feed into each other's frustrations, and then they try to like kind of deflect those frustrations onto stuff like vaccinations, gay people, immigrants. They kind of this is kind of like how the whole like alt-right kind of rabbit hole works on Facebook. I feel like it literally just become, and you also cannot forget that when there are these like conservative groups at the head, like, there are parts of me that are like, it's kind of sad to see some people and how far they've gone down the rabbit hole, because I watched a Channel 5 video about it where he went to a QAnon a rally, I guess, or a convention. It was kind of like VidCon but for like QAnon supporters, which little background info for you, I guess, if you don't know what QAnon is there used to be I think this was 4chan. Either it's 4chan or it's like the worst one where it's like 8chan. But QAnon refers to the fact that there was an anonymous poster on 4chan, as they all are, but somebody who claimed to be high up in the government that was kind of like spreading all this like info about the elite and like what they do, and like their shape-shifting ways, and how they're lizards, and how they all do these illegal things and stuff. And a lot of the QAnon believers believe that this was Donald Trump going on 4chan, and Donald Trump was kind of sent to the White House to cleanse the White House of not only just the White House, but like the elite in general of these evildoers. That's kind of what their whole belief system is based on, that this 4chan user wasn't just like some random kid that logged on to 4chan and started posting all sorts of random crap. And it's gotten to the point where it's a movement where people go to conventions for it, but you do have to realize, and this is the point I was getting to, was at the head of all these movements, there are people that are very clearly taking advantage of this. There are parts of me that almost makes me feel bad for some of these people, because some of these people, I feel like all of their delusions have been fed into the point where they've been completely misguided down this path of insane craziness. I feel like a lot of people, including myself, know people personally that have kind of gone down this rabbit hole of, I've got elderly relatives who are absolutely nuts. Like, I don't know what they're talking about anymore. Like, I have elderly relatives that will claim to me that, like, Putin personally took down their Facebook, and how, like, Russia is censoring them and going after them specifically, and how, like, the global elite is, like, kicking them off of these platforms because they are not allowed to post their truth or whatever, which is it's really weird to listen to it, especially when it's coming from someone that, growing up you used to think, okay, this person's actually pretty sane and cool, but then they're just sitting there in front of you and kind of telling you all this nonsense that to you is so clearly nonsense, but to them, they seriously think that they are saving the world from these, like, child kidnappers and, like, murderers, and that they are, like, kind of the warriors for this QAnon figure. I don't even know how I got into this conversation. I guess vaccinations, right? Yeah, and they're clearly very much not for vaccinations. It's pretty crazy. The human race is really its own worst enemy. We have the tools to really prolong our existence whether it come to, climate change. We can stop it. We can't fix a lot of what we've caused, but if we really wanted to, we could stop it. We have the tools, right? But we don't, because there's a lot of people that in the short term have a lot to gain from things continuing as they are. And, then there's the kind of the middle class and lower class people that also go with this narrative because they believe it to be true, because that's what they've been fed to by their sources of information. And a lot of these people that feed them this information, a lot of them are disingenuous, and they have a lot to profit off of, telling these people these falsehoods, because they'll tell these, and I'm talking about people like Candace Owens, Dave Rubin, Steven Crowder, Alex Jones, like all these people, they very much profit off of these people. They profit off of kind of driving this narrative. And that's why I also, like, in a way, I don't like the discourse where everybody calls them dumb. Speaking about, Candace Owens and Steven Crowder and Dave Rubin, because a lot of what they say is dumb, but I am of the opinion that they are way smarter than they would let on. And in a way, they kind of benefit from this image of, liberals and leftists being kind of like, oh, they're so dumb. They're so silly. Like, I think they're awful people. And I definitely don't think they're as smart as they make themselves out to be. But I think they're smart in the way that they definitely saw a market here, which is, grifting to conservatives, and they're using it. A lot of what they do is calculated. Kind of like the gun girl, I kind of realized the last time that she was making the rounds, the gun girl, the one who, like, blew up because she wanted to take a gun to her graduation or whatever. I realized what these conservatives do is they will, whenever there's any sort of opportunity for them to start talking about, like, any sort of current event and conjure up as much controversy as possible, I assume that from all of our feeds, as I have a pretty progressive Twitter feed, and I'm sure as you guys do too. from our feeds, it seems, wow, they're sure getting hate and they're getting kind of like the backlash that they deserve. But then you can look up their follower statistics and you'll see that day they're gaining like 10 to 20,000 followers a day. And that's because, you know, people spreading their ideas and being like, you know, even quote tweeting it and being like, this is so stupid. This is obviously such a stupid take, right? You're kind of bringing it to their target audience where, you know, for them, really, any publicity is good publicity because there are people that message will reach that will then support them. And people that, you know, hate the gun girl, they don't follow the gun girl. So she's not going to lose followers, you know, like she's not going to get canceled over it or whatever. So, yeah, it's a pretty sad state of affairs that we exist within in this world right now. But yeah, I you know, as your broadcaster, I just want to say we're not done with Corona yet. We're not close to being done with it. That doesn't mean you should give up hope. I think we were on a good path. Right now it's looking a little bit shaky, but we were on a good path and we can be on that path again. People just have to be careful. And maybe, you know, maybe save that concert for next year, maybe. I don't, you know, there's a lot of things you can do that you were not able to do earlier that you can do now, and I think it would be completely fine. But maybe, just maybe, I don't know, be a little bit careful and look out for your elderly especially. Because, you know, the problem is that, you know, the Delta strain, it's a mutation of the virus, and everybody's kind of like, well, it's not as bad as it could be, right? And, you know, there's parts that I, you know, that's true, but you kind of need to realize that this mutation can also mutate into something worse, and the longer we let it kind of move around and go from person to person, the more of a chance there is of that happening, right? So I really do think that we need to be careful with this. But enough about the corona, all right? We've been talking about corona for 2 years. Let's talk about something fun. Like, you know what? Shout out to Cindy Corey. Big fan of the show. Cindy Corey, after, I guess not after last week's episode, I believe she watched the one with her son. Believe it or not, Cindy Corey, the mother of Weston Corey, previous guest on the show. Yeah, actually, this is what she tweeted at me. She said, I just finished the podcast with @West10. 2 things. Your voice is mesmerizing. You were born for the mic. Thanksgiving with the Coreys is on. Hope you like Lebanese food. So shout out to Cindy Corey. Best wishes to her. That tweet came at a pretty good time for me where I felt like I kind of needed those very kind words, and it meant a lot to me that she would tweet that at me. So shout out to Cindy Corey, and I will be coming to Thanksgiving some year. I don't know if this year, I don't know if I'll be able to come to the US this year, but hopefully next year. And I would love to try out some Lebanese food. I've never had any, but I have been shown Lebanese food by Weston and Kalen, and it does look good. So yeah, let's see what else I have written down in my notes. I guess you know what? Yeah, let's talk about the podcast and how it's kind of been. I do enjoy the podcast. I'm gonna be honest. More people care about it than I thought, and I enjoy reading comments. People are very nice in the comments. If you guys have any guests, any ideas for guests, you know, feel free to kind of leave me ideas in the comments, and I'll make sure to skadoodle to them, and maybe get the guest that you want. The problem is that I did kind of realize, you know, I can't interview somebody every single week. So I'm kind of trying to mix it up. You know, I'm trying to do this week, it's just me. And last week it was, you know, it was already Hoover who had been on. And then it was like, you know, it was 4 people. And it was, I really loved that episode. And that's kind of what I want to do more is for most weeks, I feel like I just want to have random people on. Doesn't matter if they've been on before. Doesn't matter what the following they have. Like I have friends that like talk to me is like, hey, you're going to have me on or am I like not big enough? And I'm like, bro, listen, first of all, the podcast, this isn't the Joe Rogan experience where I have a platform of like 1 million people. This podcast is pretty small and I kind of like it that way. So I don't have any sort of like weird thing where it's you know, you got to be a certain size or whatever. someone that I want to have on is Prezzo. Prezzo might be listening, actually. I always see Prezzo commenting on the podcast, and he has this he has no avatar, and it's horrifying. He has this like default avatar, which is just like a brown background and a P, and it feels like I'm getting like some sort of like message from like my blackmailer every time he comments. It's honestly horrifying, but I'm very happy to see him watch the episodes, and he on the past podcast, I think he commented something about how he had a story about a bus driver that he wanted to share. So when I have him on, I'm excited to hear about that. Another thing I wanted to talk about was DaBaby. I'm curious. I got to look this up. I want to pull up the article and kind of read what he said, so that we have a better understanding here of the whole situation, right? Let me see. What did he say? Okay, so the whole story here is that DaBaby, performing at Rolling Loud Festival in Miami over the weekend, he asked every audience member to put your cell phone light up, apart from those who were HIV positive or were gay men who had sex in car parks. He also made the false claim that HIV will make you die in 2 or 3 weeks. Medication helping those with HIV to live long, healthy lives has been available for decades. And I'm just going to be fully honest. The first time I saw this headline, my first reaction was, what the fuck? Like, it was so weird that I legit, like, at first I couldn't even like really be offended, because I was like, wait, is this like an Onion article? Like, what is this? Did he seriously like say this? Because this is something that like you would think that somebody in like the 1990s would say, right? Because it's like an insanely like out of touch, fucking completely out of miseducated take, and it's out of nowhere. It's completely unprompted. Nobody was, it wasn't topical. It wasn't anything. They just it randomly was brought up by Mr. Baby. DaBaby, Mr. Baby. Here's the funny thing about DaBaby. He's a millennial. Just was thinking about that earlier. I was looking at his wiki, and I realized that he's a millennial. He joins the likes of Wilbur Soot. I think I mentioned that every single episode that Wilbur Soot is a millennial, and I'll keep doing it too. Dan is Not on Fire, Amazing Phil. DaBaby is amongst that group of people. DaBaby could have been like, I don't know, like sharing BuzzFeed posts onto Facebook and thinking that like all those like advice animal memes were like really funny. I don't know. I think that's kind of a interesting thought. And then in response to that, because people were clearly like, what? Hello, DaBaby? What does this even mean? What are you even talking about? He gave a response that I found to be quite peculiar, where it's not mentioned in this article. But basically, he said this thing where he was like, my gay fans are not like any other gay people. My gay fans are better than your gay fans. My gay fans don't get HIV, which is like, what is that? What, like, that's like some like weird, like I don't know what this whole situation completely bewilders me. Am I surprised that DaBaby is homophobic? No, I'm not surprised. It's more so the fact that he, for some reason, I don't know what happened, but that night he just went completely mask off and went like homophobic Joker mode and went like completely unprompted, said this horrible stuff. And then, responding to it with like, my fans are none of those nasty gays where and it's like, what the hell? Like, I don't know. And then everybody was like, well, that you just added fuel to the fire. That's an even worse thing to say. So he tweeted out and he said, anybody who done ever been affected by AIDS/HIV, y'all got the right to be upset. What I said was insensitive, even though I have no intentions on offending anybody. So my apologies. But the LGBT community, I ain't tripping on y'all. Do y'all business. Oh, do you? Y'all business is y'all business. I have no intentions on offending anybody. But, you know, he very clearly... I don't know. Dua Lipa came out and said that she was horrified by these remarks, which, I mean, yeah, that is horrifying. But it's also the fact that she said that she was horrified. The word horrifying is kind of funny, but yeah, I don't know. It's just the most like out of pocket situation I've seen this year. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why he said that. And, you know, it's like, listen, do you expect me to believe that after like, you know, this week of like thinking, and after his first response was like, you know what, fuck you guys. I'm actually, what I said was this, and if you don't believe me, you should go fuck yourself, right? You expect me to believe that he comes back after a few days and he's like, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not actually homophobic. I didn't mean to hurt anybody. Like, it's so clear that, you know, his, like, he was getting, like, kicked off of festivals and he was, like, losing, like, brand deals and stuff, that his publicist probably went to him and was like, you are literally ruining everything that we've worked for. Everything. I mean, just imagine being his publicist, right? I would literally scream if I had to create good press for this guy, and then he just goes and does this, right? That is nuts. But yeah, he's a millennial, so I guess it makes sense. I'm just looking at this article. It's a BBC article, I just realized. I'm on BBC reading about DaBaby. Yeah, and then Boohoo pulled out, I guess. The clothing company. I don't even know what that is. I've never heard of the Boohoo clothing company. That's fascinating. Wow. Another thing that I've been doing a lot is watching the Olympics, which, oh boy, love that. Love the Olympics. A lot of people have been calling me old and kind of making fun of me for enjoying the Olympics, and I've realized that it's mostly Americans doing this. Americans are boring, and I don't know what to tell you guys. You guys literally have no fun. Anytime that I have my European fun, and Olympics isn't even European, it's a worldwide event, and I feel like most people care about it way more than, you know, even Americans I feel like care about it. So I don't understand why I'm getting all this shit from Americans. But people are calling me old and making fun of me for enjoying the Olympics, which there's nothing, you know, there's nothing lame about enjoying the Olympics. It's a great pastime, and you're watching people do what they're best at, you know? The Olympics is crazy to me because you're watching people kind of live through a moment that they've been building up to for 4 years. With this one, it was 5 years because, you know, it was supposed to happen last year, but it got postponed and stuff. But I don't know. It's fun. You know what? The sport I saw that really blew my mind. Oh my god. I think I had a couple, you know, alcoholic beverages by this point, but this literally blew my mind. I've never watched water polo. Never. And all of a sudden I'm watching the Olympics, and water polo comes on, and all of a sudden these like insanely tall, everyone's like 6'5", insanely buff dudes walk out, and like it was like, I think it was like Greece versus the US. No, the US went against Japan. I don't know who Greece played against, but the Greek team, I swear on my life, some of the sexiest men I have ever seen in my life. Actually insane. They all looked like they were like carved out of statues. Like they looked like they were perfectly made by the Greek gods to kind of give the world like the ideal representation of what a man is supposed to look like. And I was starstruck. I literally was watching it with Jake, and I was just, the whole time I was just telling Jake, I was like, this is actually blowing my mind. Like I've never seen, and the crazy thing is water polo, there's like 20 of them. And then before the game, they all line up. There's these 20 Greek gods lining up, right? And then the next game, It was the U.S. versus Japan, and the U.S. team walks out, and they all look like Trump supporters. It was just like they all looked the same. They all looked related, and they all looked like Trump supporters. It was nowhere near the high caliber of the Greek team, where they were just like seriously some of the most attractive people I'd ever seen. The U.S. team, though, you could tell that, water polo, it's a sport that you probably play when you're a little bit more rich, especially in the U.S. We looked it up. I think almost every single person except 2 people on the U.S. water polo men's national team were from California. So that'll sum it up for you. The only way they could get any rich white is if they were from New Hampshire, honestly, like Ludwig, which is honestly, it's hilarious how Ludwig is from New Hampshire and he has like that really rich person laugh. It's really funny. But Estonia also won medals. Estonia won medals in fencing, two medals in fencing, in fact. One was an individual bronze medal, and the second was the gold medal for the team fencing. And fencing is incredible to watch. It is so intense. It really has you on the edge of your seat, especially when you're rooting for somebody. It really tightens you up and really makes you feel things, So, yeah, I don't know. I like the Olympics. Skateboarding was fun. I watched skateboarding. So all the skateboarders were like super. They looked like they were super chill dudes, and also like raised this thought in my head because we all kind of know. We've all read the articles about how like the Olympic Village is like they have a lot of sex there. It's an insane. All these athletes that are like super kind of they're full of adrenaline. They gotta get some sort of release, so they all just start hooking up and stuff, and it's all like incredibly attractive, fit people, young people. So it's and I looked at the skateboarders and I was like, I bet they're in high demand. Like I bet like they're not built like would you say the Greek gods and the Greek water polo team, who I'm sure were also in high demand. But I look, they're just chill dudes, man, and I feel like if I would just want to hang out with them and maybe smoke a little doobie, right? But it was very cool seeing skateboarding be a part of the Olympics. I think a Japanese guy won it, and I think last night it was like the 100-meter final, and an Italian guy won it, which is pretty crazy. I don't think a European has won 100 meters since 1992. And by this guy winning it, he broke the European record for the 100 meters, which is crazy. Fucking Italians, eh? But, yeah. What else do I have to talk about? Oh, yeah, I started playing solitaire again. I used to play solitaire a lot on my mom's computer. Back in like the Windows XP days when I was growing up, I used to play a lot of solitaire. Never really knew how to play it at the time. And then like a few nights ago, I was like, I don't really have anything to do. I kind of need to figure something out here. So I just kind of went for it. And what do you know it? I'm kind of hooked to solitaire now. I keep playing. I play quite a bit. I play a couple hours every day. And I am getting better and better at it. I was quite slow at it at first, but now my mind's kind of like on that wavelength where I know what card to put where. But I am aware that this is I am transitioning into like my retirement period, honestly. With if I'm really that invested in solitaire, then I might as well start packing it up and retiring, honestly, getting out of here. God, and honestly, it's kind of interesting just sitting here and talking. Like I check in on Emma Chamberlain's podcast every now and then. I haven't listened to a full episode, but I just kind of like, she talks about like various topics, and like most of her episodes are just her by herself. And if it's like a kind of a topic that I feel like I can relate to, or a topic that I'm kind of curious about listening to, then I am, I don't know. It's good to listen to. She said something like that really stuck with me recently, but I don't remember what it was. I should have written it down, but for the life of me, can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. But it is interesting, kind of just sitting here by myself, and I've been talking to myself for 40 minutes, holding up the conversation for 40 minutes. It's even different than streaming, because when you stream, you have a chat. But right now, there's literally nobody's in touch with me. Nobody's trying to talk to me. I'm just sitting here talking to myself. And I maybe I'm kind of good at talking. I don't know. I recently had my friend ask, my friend Mark asked me, which was a kind of an interesting conversation to have. He asked me like what it is like to be me, which is, it's a very like, I feel like I could talk about being me and it could come off in like a really self-absorbed manner, but he was curious because, he's not a content creator. He's not very much a public figure. He is, one of my normal friends, as I like to call them. As opposed to all my abnormal friends who like to stream and stuff. Very abnormal. But he was just kind of curious, and he asked me, like, what is it like to live this life? And I feel like in the last month or so, I have become increasingly self-aware of the fact that a lot of the way that I live and a lot of kind of the stuff that I deal with, a lot of people don't have to in an everyday sense. And that's not to say, oh, boo-hoo, right? Boo-hoo me, my miserable life. No, I don't think so. I think I'm very fortunate, and I think I'm very lucky to be able to do this full time and live comfortably and have people care about what I put out, right? But there are, there's, this past week I feel like has been kind of the first week in about a year and a half where I feel like I've really disconnected. I've definitely taken breaks, and I've maybe for a couple days here or there I've logged off, but this past week I really disconnected, and it's I forgot what it's like to just not be perceived all the time. Like I legitimately forgot, because I'm always like, especially when during the quarantine and stuff where I can't go anywhere. So I've just kind of been, stuck in my room. And that means that most of my time I kind of live online, which is very tied to my career and tied to where a lot of people, perceive me and know me. It definitely created this thing where that became my existence, Twitter became my existence, and kind of always thinking about what people are going to think of me, or like what people are going to think of this, or like I think about my friends, and they can, the way I thought about it was, my friends who don't do this as a full-time job, they can post an Instagram picture and they will know exactly who it will go to, right? Because they'll get like they'll have a couple hundred followers, and they kind of know where most of those people came from, especially if it's like a private account. But then, like, for example, I have a couple followers on Instagram, and I feel like I only know like 100 of them, and that's like my mutuals and stuff. Like when I post a picture, I don't know who it's going to. So I don't know. That's kind of curious. The whole idea of being perceived, and in a way there's a kind of a beauty in nobody giving a single fuck about what you do, And I always kind of think about it in this way. Like whenever I'm really stressed out, I kind of like to remind myself how insignificant I am, and how at the end of the day, like, as long as I try my best, I can't, it's impossible for me to have like an insane amount of impact where I destroy the universe, So time will move on with or without me, and I just got to focus on my own kind of experience, right? And just the idea of being insignificant kind of helps me, which I know that for some people that can be kind of scary, because I feel like kind of the ego inside of us wants us to be significant and wants us to have a specific purpose in this universe. But the older I get, the more I realize that I really don't want to be significant. I want to be, I'm not gonna lie, I like attention, and I like, I like having an audience and stuff, and I like all that stuff. But I don't want to be like, for example, I have no need to be like the president. Like that's the point of significance where I'm like, that's too much for me. Like I gotta, we gotta slow down there, and yeah, I just want to go like spend some time in nature and stuff, and I think a lot about seeing my friends again, and it's definitely at a point where the idea of that doesn't even seem real to me anymore, which is like a crazy thing, but I haven't seen my close friends in person since February 2020, so that's a year and a half ago. And I never imagined that this period would go on for so long. But especially in the last like few months, and especially this year, I've really started to realize the insane like mental toll that it's had on me, and how, I don't know, man, I feel like my brain doesn't work as good anymore. Like I just legitimately feel like a little bit like woozy all the time, and I feel very like disassociated a lot of the time, which is it's kind of scary, but that's another thing that's kind of become my reality, which is weird. Like I'm very like out of touch with reality a lot of the time right now, I feel like, because I go on walks and stuff, but like I haven't like been with people that I love with in so long that like I can't even remember what it feels like, I can't remember what it feels like to be like next to my friends. And I feel like I'm going to cry, honestly, when I see them, because it's going to be like one of those things where it's like, right now, I know I'm going to see them eventually, but it doesn't feel like it. I've been in this like purgatory state for so long that there's a part of my brain that's just like, it doesn't seem possible. Like, how are you ever going to get out of this, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking forward to it. I don't know when I'll be able to see any of my friends, but listen, if any of you have had a tough year, which I'm sure you have, I'm sure almost all of us have had a pretty fucking traumatizing and tough year. I hope you know that, whatever kind of obstacle you are up against right now, I know that it seems that it seems like it could be pretty impossible to kind of conquer it and really figure out what's next and how to get past it. But you will get past it. You 100% will. There have been a lot of times, especially in the last like few months, where I've felt completely hopeless. And I personally have felt like I don't know how I'm going to like ever get past this situation, and I don't know how I'm going to do this, and I don't know how I'm going to do that, and my whole life just seems kind of like a spinning mess. But looking at it objectively, I've been in tough spots before in my life, and I've kind of figured them out, and I have no doubt that I will figure it out again. And I'm sure that you will too. And in a couple years, this period will be nothing but a blip. And we'll be like, that was crazy. Right? Yeah. It's been a really weird year. I don't even know why I'm telling you this. You don't know me. I don't know you. I don't know who you're listening to me right now, but I don't even know who you are. And I just told you about what a shitty year I've had. That's crazy. But you know what? Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this solo rendition. And I'll see you guys next week. Maybe with a guest. Maybe with a little surprise. I don't know. I have nothing planned right now. I'll figure it out. Thank you for all the support. Leave your ideas for the show in the comments. And I don't know. Listen to us. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, I guess. Yeah, rate us. Listen to us. Follow me on Twitter. Also, look at my hair. Oh my God. My hair is beautiful. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to keep this homeless look for now because I feel like it fits my my being, this Bon Iver type of look where I have gone to the woods for like 2 months to write an album about my ex-girlfriend. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. This has been another episode of Cool Dog, and let's keep it chill in the doghouse.